Hello there, everybody. I'm Saban92 aka Nightmare, and I can't even remember my fucking intros. Anyway, last episode of Chaos Head, we had a rather intense moment with Yua, resulting in us running away with FES, or Fez. Because now, apparently, we're running away from the police. Now, whether that is true or not is to be decided. However, Fez decided to kind of give a brief explanation of the D sword, or specifically how she called hers. And my running theory is like, basically these weapons allow you to enact your delusions upon reality to an extent, whereas her showcase made our main character see two of her, because I believe that's literally how she used her delusions. Using delusions as a sort of mechanic, it's weird, but in the right hands can be an incredibly interesting power. But it's not limited to strictly our main character, even though it seems like I'm not entirely sure if his delusions are even taking effect on, like, the real world right now. At least I'm not sure yet. As he walked cautiously through the narrow, trash-ridden streets of Mariamacho, Bon Yasuji jammed one inside his pants pocket. One hand inside his pants pocket. Inside, he found a few dozen small coins.
Senpai, 貼り付けの現場に何があるって言うんすか？もう事件から2週間以上経ってるし、散々調べられた後っすよ。
2 weeks since the crucifixion case, so it's kind of crazy how it's already been 2 weeks. Granted, a large amount of our day jumps are through Takami's perspective, in which case, well, we can kind of guess what he's been doing on days that he doesn't go to school, and it's usually playing like ESO or just staying in his one room. Well, to an extent, that was originally what he had been doing.
新しい証拠なんて出てきませんって。
Now, because you just said that, evidence is gonna pop out of thin air. His partner, Detective Sua, had been walking behind him, grousing in an irritated voice for quite some time. That was understandable, of course, as the job originally assigned to them had been to tail an important witness for the new gen cases, Nishijo Takami. However, the two of them had abandoned their tailing mission and had instead come to the scene of the third new gen incident, colloquially known as the crucifixion. Bon had decided to abandon their original task of tailing Nishijo Takami, forcing the burden onto some other detective in the same jurisdiction. Really? The rookie detective Sua was not pleased by this.
やっぱまずいっすよ。尾行に戻りましょう。
The rookie detective had consistently been pushed around by his senior without any explanation, and he could not stand it, as he stands there with a smile clear on his face. For that reason, he had been insistently trying to persuade Bon for a long while now. But to this, Bon only said,
いいから黙ってついてこいって。
Gotta follow the expert. The aged, old, wise mentor who's been in service for many years. Sometimes their gut is correct. He remained aloof and refused to heed his junior's perfectly sound arguments. Finally, they at last came across a narrow road blocked off by a yellow barricade tape. As Sua let out the latest in his myriad of sighs, his cell phone began vibrating near his chest. He quickly took out his phone, which had been set to vibrate, assumed the look of a capable detective, and pressed the accept button.
座っす。はい。はい。
As he listened to Sua's voice coming from behind him, Bon came to a stop in front of the barricade tape. Behind that tape was the crime scene. A deep darkness had settled over the area, just as it had when the crime had been committed. But now, there were no remaining traces of the incident, save for the barricade tape.
見失った？
Ah, those are the detectives that they set to tail after Takami. They lost him.
女か。やられたっすね。とりあえず、深センの家に戻ってほしいっす。
And now they're heading back to his house in Shin. Oh boy.
はい。張り込んでてください。いやいや、大丈夫っすよ。責任はバン警部補が取るっすから。
Ooh, evil. Assistant Inspector Bond will take all the flack. Oh. Bond smiled wryly upon hearing that. Suwa could be surprisingly shrewd. That's a word for it. Of course, Bond had no intention of placing the blame onto his subordinates, nor onto the detective he had placed in charge. That's actually kind of good of him, like that. Like, he is assuming responsibility for his rather out of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. His out of protocol actions. That's what I'm going to call them. He's not following protocol, but he knows this, and he's willing to accept all that blame. And that's cool. That's cool. That's cool of him.
なるべく早くこっちも合流します。本当申し訳ないっす。お願いします。
Right as Suwa hung up the phone and returned his begrudging gaze to Bond, Bond ducked under the tape. Suwa had no choice but to reluctantly accompany him. Can I just have the most of the novel focus on these guys, please?
見失ったって？
尾行に気づかれたっす。
He figured out he was being tailed. Yeah.
直前にネットカフェで一騒動あったみたいっすし。
女っての？
岸本綾瀬っす。
Kishimoto Ayase.
お騒がせバンドの嬢ちゃんかな。つながりは？
同じ学校の同じ学年っすね。他は今のところ特に。クラスメートでもないっす。
Bond brought a hand to his chin, savoring the rough texture of his stubble for a moment. After which he took out several coins from his pocket and started counting them in the dark one by one. Suwa stared at his eccentric senior with a puzzled look on his face.
何してるんすか?
Counting coins might just be like a little bit of a habit that he's got. Kind of like how there's like fidget toys that people like me use to kind of keep our minds focused if we're getting distracted by something.
よりによって5円玉だけありゃしね。
A 5 yen coin?
そう、お前5円玉持ってねえか。
はあ。
Perplexed, Suwa took out a 5 yen coin out from his wallet and held it out to Bond. However, instead of taking it straight away, Bond tore the bottom button off of the shirt he was wearing. What? He then untied the thread fastened to the button.
先輩、ついに頭おかしくなったんすか?
Sir, have you finally lost it? I legitimately have no idea what the hell you're doing. Shut up, boy. Don't worry. I'm doing my thing.
生意気な口聞くようになったじゃねえか。
Bond chuckled and lightly whapped Suwa on the head. He then took the thread and weaved it through the hole in the center of the coin. Oh?
よし、お前にやらせてやるよ。
What are you doing? After pinching both ends of the thread with his fingers, Bond let the 5 yen coin hang down and handed it to his junior.
振り子っすか?
A pendulum? Bond smiled mischievously. What are you doing?
こいつが事件の重要なヒントを与えてくれるかもしれねえね。
What, you're gonna use the pendulum as a dowsing rod to not only find water, but also find the I don't know, the piece of evidence you need? You know what? Fuck it, do it. I want to see where this goes.
マジっすか?
I really want to see where this is going.
バンさん、勘弁してほしいっすよ。
Nope. I'm never gonna spare you a gosh diggity darn second away from my craziness, boy.
そのために仕事をほっぽってここまで来たんすか?
Yep, I'm here to walk. I'm here to walk this 5 yen coin. You've not been doing a good job walking this poor thing. Gotta put this poor little boy on a leash. Walk him around. Need to get some exercise for this little coin. Sua's tone was almost mournful. He had been pushed around countless times by Bon before now, but this time, Bon had finally managed to utterly stump the rookie detective.
サイキック操作とかダウジングとか
I was kidding about the dowsing thing, Jesus Christ. Offhanded mention about it and then... Dowsing, a technique for locating groundwater, mineral deposits, or various other things by relying on the movement of a rod, pendulum, or other similar technology. One of the most popular methods is to use two-angled rods, typically in the form of L-shaped wires. The person who does the dowsing is called a dowser. It is widely believed that the human body has an internal magnet that reacts to underground water veins and other objects, and that this causes muscles to move unconsciously. The prevailing theory is that this is why dowsing rods appear as if they move by themselves.
その手のテレビでも見て影響を受けたんですね先輩
そういうお前も詳しいじゃね
いやまあ自分も見たは見たっすよ先週のユーリ・ブライトマン
Yuri Brightman?
ユーリ・ブライトマンっすよ今話題になってるアメリカの超能力捜査官っす
Wait. Psychic detective from America. Hold on. This better not be... Typically found in America is an investigator who uses psychic abilities such as clairvoyance in order to aid in solving crime, often appearing in Japanese media. However, despite the established title, such a position does not actually exist in America, and the mainstream media perception of psychic investigation is that it is extremely ineffective. That is true. It is exceptionally strange how there are some media that will portray like psychic investigation as like this thing that works, when in reality, like actual criminal like investigations, they never are used. And for the most part, as far as I'm aware, actually shit, now I kind of want to look this up if there... I was about to say that there's never been a case where a psychic solved a mystery or something like that. And now I'm like legitimately curious. I actually kind of want to look this up now. Like if there's been, specifically in America, like if there's been any sort of like criminal investigation and then see if psychics actually solved it or some shit like that. I'm kind of curious.
俺が見たのはそんなチャラチャラしたもんじゃねえんだよどこかのお偉い大学教授が出ててたな
でもテレビっすよね
このやつだ
He's a bit of a nitpicker.
やってみりゃわかるほらいいから吊るしてみろって
When his senior issued that request, Sua did not have any room to refuse. His lips pursed in a sullen manner, but he reluctantly accepted the 5-yen coin. He pinched the ends of the string and began to twirl it around in a circle, creating centrifugal motion. It was too dark for either of them to see clearly, so Bon flicked on a 100-yen cigarette lighter and used it as their light source.
先輩ってタバコ吸いましたっけ
10年以上前に禁煙したよなんでだ
But you... Oh, I get it. Okay, he said that he quit smoking 10 years ago, so why does he have a lighter? I've already got a good idea. He keeps that lighter as a reminder of his commitment to stop smoking. Or maybe I'm reading too far into this.
ライター持ってたから
そういうこともあろうかと用意していたんだよ
Or, never mind, I guess he was just prepared, I guess.
ははでこれで何がわかるんです
もっといろいろ動かしたり止めたりしてみろ
Move it around and then try to stop it? Bon monitored the movement of the 5-yen coin intently. Bon's eyes were so intensely serious, Sua could no longer complain about this being a pointless excursion.
やっぱりなスワわかるか
Eh?
何がっす
五円玉の動きだよ
What about it?
さっきから少しだけ楕円を描いてるような気がしねえか
The fact that we have a visual here showing this is actually interesting. An ellipsis? Using the thread as support, the dangling 5-yen coin was slowly revolving around in a circular motion. Suwa cocked his head.
力の入れ方とかじゃないんすかね。
お前楕円に回るように意識してやってんのか？
いや、結構適当にくるくる。
You just kinda made it go around, huh?
もっと手を動かさねえようにやってんの。
はあ。
Suwa consciously tried to move his hand in a circular fashion, but no matter how hard he tried, the trajectory drawn by the 5-yen coin was always elliptical in shape. Huh.
おかしいな。
No matter how he does it. Huh.
意識的に違う形にしようとしてもできねえだろ。
Bond's face was full of pride. Suwa, on the other hand, was still not convinced and continued relentlessly in his quest to try and change the motion of the pendulum.
まあ、渋谷のどこでもこの現象が見られるわけじゃねえが。それでも十数箇所はここみてえな場所があるらしいぜ。
Pardon?
確かに不思議っすね。でも、だから何なんす？
That something's wrong with this area? Bond looked up in satisfaction, put his lighter back in his pocket, then retrieved the hand fan that he had stabbed between his belt and his pants.
お前、渋谷がなんでここまで若者を引きつけるか知ってるか？
Because they have a nice dojin store or something like that? I don't know.
5円玉が楕円を描くからっすか？
Suwa thought he was making a clever jab, but Bond nodded readily in response, calmly fanning his face all the while. What?
まあ、そういうことだ。
Wait, because it forms an ellipse. What does that have to do with what? Okay, Bond, you lost me. No, wait, go back! Don't fucking leave when you...
なぜこの渋谷という場所は若者たちをこんなにも引きつけると思う？
Why I think the Shibuya attracts so many youths. Oh my fucking god, do not! If you say a fucking 5-yen coin spins in ellipses, I am leaving! Suddenly the okay, right. Suddenly the conversation I was having with Fez transitioned into something completely unrelated.
日本、いいえ、世界を見渡してみてもこんな場所は他になかなかないわ。
Did this have something to do with D-swords? If not, then I didn't care. I had to somehow find a way to get Fez to tell me how to get my hands on a real D-sword.
新宿でも池袋でもなくて、
Neither Shinjuku nor Ikebukuro?
渋谷、
Just Shibuya.
この街の名前が一人歩きしてしまうくらい。
Both in front of and behind me, the same words were being spoken from the two Fezes at the exact same time. Perfect synchronization. It gave me a somewhat strange feeling. Had Fez split in half? Were both of them the real Fez, or were both of them imposters?
日本中の人たちに刻まれている若者の街という記号。
The city of youths?
なぜかしら。
Why? Well, that has absolutely nothing to do with me!
ファッションの街だか
Doubt it.
ら、お店がたくさんあるから、
Not entirely sure.
流行の発信者だか
Maybe?
ら、よくテレビに映るか
I don't know!
ら、交通の便がいいから、
Okay, you're being very weird.
違うわドル
Well, I mean, I could have told you that. The two Fezzes paused for a moment. Being watched from both in front and from behind started to make me feel uncomfortable.
大いなる意志
Oh god, no.
高知存在もっとわかりやすく言えば神による意志な
Okay. This is bad. My rational side warned me. Could this be... Maybe she was trying to recruit me into some sketchy religious cult. I began to feel uneasy. Man, maybe I should just get the heck out of here. But upon hearing the next thing Fez said to me, I realized I no longer had that option.
理想度もまたその意志による導きよ
The D swords are guided by that will too.
引力ってあるだろ？
Oh, good, we're back with these guys. Thank you. Ban returned to the main street from the alleyway, and then began walking towards Shibuya Station. Suwa, who now assumed they were going to Shinsen, chased after his senior detective with an obvious frown on his face.
万有引力のことっすか？
The law of universal the law of universal gravitation? Pardon? A law discovered... Oh, duh, I'm stupid. A law discovered by Isaac Newton stating that all matter, energy, and anything that has mass has a force that attracts other things with mass. The force of attraction becomes stronger the heavier the two selections of matter are, and it becomes weaker the greater the distance is between them. The law also applies to the gravitational force exhibited by Earth and other planets. There's a famous story which claims Isaac Newton discovered universal gravitation when he saw an apple fall from a tree, but it is no more than a myth.
よく知ってるじゃないか。さすがいい大学出てるだけあるな。
The nice college you came out of? Suwa grew discouraged in response to Ban's slightly mocking tone.
あいにく大学じゃオカルトは勉強しなかったっすけどね。
I wish my friggin' I wish the college that I went to had an occult study course. Oh god, now I'm making myself feel bad because I'm a college dropout.
オカルトじゃねえよ。世界には引力がアンバランス化してる地域ってのが何か所かある。
Really?
アンバランス化ですか？
Unbalanced gravity.
振り子が楕円を描いたのもその影響ってこった。G レートって呼ぶらしい。
GE rate.
GE レート。
正式名称は何だっつってたかな。
Gravitational equation?
グルバケーショングラリッシュえらい
Gravitation? Gravititillation?
引力ならグラビテーションじゃないですか？グラビテーションエラーレート。
Gravitation error?
おお、そうグラビテーションエラーレート。
Gravitation error rate. Okay, now this is fascinating.
直訳すると万有引力の異常値ですか？
Number of universal gravitation anomalies?
物理学の辞典を調べりゃ載ってるはずだぜ。
Physics dictionary, okay.
乗ってたっすかね。
The GE rate, an imbalance that contradicts the law of universal gravitation. Discovered by Isaac Newton, the law of universal gravitation is a fundamental force of nature that acts between all forms of energy and matter, i.e., anything that contains mass. It is commonly believed that the great number of strata layered upon the Earth's surface play a large part in this law. A typical example of something that disturbs local areas would be lava beds. This phenomena can be found at the foot of Mount Fuji, Aokigahara, also known as the Sea of Trees, where there have been several recorded instances of compasses becoming unusable. Studies have also shown that fossil beds, particularly rich in iron and calcium, are another type of stratum in which magnetism is repelled. Adding on to the previous factors, magnetite is also believed to have a particularly strong influence on gravity. Magnetite can also help you summon demons. I mean, wrong magnetite. A type of mineral that is used as a material in magnets. It is black in color, has a metallic luster, and the crystals have an octahedral shape. If magnetite, a naturally occurring magnet with an octahedral crystal structure, were to be found beneath the earth in a large quantity, and a quantity large enough to warrant being recognized as a dike, it would be as if the ground itself were a magnet. This would then result in an extremely high chance of the area producing minute gravitational deviations. The GE rate is the measurement of the gravitational values in a region in which such values have been distorted by the previously mentioned geological strata. When Bond's explanation concluded, the two men who had been walking the entire time were just exiting onto Dogenzaka. The scenery surrounding them instantly turned bright and dazzling.
渋谷の平均 GE レートは世界でもトップクラスらしいぜ。地面に置いたボールが一人でに坂を登っていくようなケースもあるらしい。
That'd be fascinating to watch. I doubt it, but that would be fascinating to watch. Suwa, who had been listening in utter silence up until now, showed his surprise with a slightly exaggerated tone.
まるで SF 映画の世界っすね。
お前の好きなな。
自分は小難しいのは嫌いっすよ。壮大なスケールの映画がいいっす。
Ah, getting to large-scale epics, hell yeah.
知らねえよ。
It's all Greek.
先輩の説明はすごくもっともらしいっすけど、なかなか信じられないっすよ。GE レートなんて聞いたこともないっすし。
てめえの無知を一般論として語るな。デカに必要なのは事実を客観視することだぞ。
So you admit you are Gumshoe?
はあ。でも。
What Suwa said was equally true. The research into the GE rate was minimal, and it certainly was not something that would be taught to an everyday college student. Bond himself had not even been aware of it until a few weeks ago.
そもそもまだ肝心の答えを聞いてないっすよ。渋谷の重力がアンバランスだとなんで若者が引きつけられるんですか？
Because young people aren't fully developed, thus making their gravitational energy incomplete, which draws them to these gravitational error spots. I'm trying to... Honestly, I think I pulled that right out of my ass. I have no idea.
引力と人間ってのは意外と因果関係があるってことだよ。お前、生き物のバイオリズムは月の引力に関係してるっての知ってたか？潮の満ち引きだけじゃねえんだぜ。
ウミガメの産卵には月の影響があるらしいってのはどっかで耳にしたことがあるっす。
See, I gotta admit, the word spawn has like changed so thoroughly to my perception that for some reason the way he said that has an effect on sea turtle spawning. Is like, right, the rate of which they spawn so that way you can farm their materials or some shit like that. I'm like, no, that's literally sea turtles being born, and your wording just gave me some weird images.
ああ、必ず満月の夜に産卵するってやつだな。だがウミガメだけじゃねえ。他に有名なのだとサンゴが産卵するのも満月の夜だ。
海の中が雪降ってるみたいになるやつっすね。
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I actually watched the only reason I know about that phenomena is strictly because I was watching David Attenborough's documentary. It was about the Great Barrier Reefs. I only watched about 2 episodes out of the documentary, but it was pretty fucking good, and I got to see that sort of phenomena where it looks like it's snowing on the ocean. I've seen that. It is crazy. Bro, seriously, Actually, you know what? Here, give me a second. Okay, so I got the name. It's called David Attenborough Presents the Great Barrier Reef. I sincerely will hope you guys, I want you guys to go look that up. It is actually it is really fascinating. Also, you get one hell of a great narrator with David Attenborough. Fuck, I need to go watch the rest of that documentary now. Anyway, it's a really good watch.
満月の夜は引力も強くなってるって科学的に実証されてるんだ。当然人間にもその影響は及んでる。
人の出産にもってことっすか？
出産だけじゃねえよ。バイオリズムって言ったろ。
Biorhythms, huh?
普通の生理現象はもちろん交通事故や事件、病気、食欲とか性欲とかにも密接なつながりがある。
What?
興奮すると頭に血が上ってるっていうだろう。
Yeah?
あれは月の引力に引っ張られてるんだよ。
What?
そりゃ極論だと思うっすよ。
Yeah, that sounds like now you're pulling shit out of your ass.
まるで個々の感情なんて関係なくて全部月のせいだって言ってるようなもんじゃないっすか。
It's all the moon's fault that we have feelings!
そこまでは言わねえがな。集団心理っていうの。この町に来た途端に楽しい気分になったらちょっと無茶したくなったりするかもしんねえんじゃねえの？
Crowd psychology?
ニュージェネの一連の事件に対する反応だってそうだ。この町でそのニュースを見た連中は大抵反応が同じだ。どいつもこいつも楽しんでやがる。自分だけは被害者にならないって気持ちだ。対岸の火事を眺めていい気になってる。
Oh, okay, I see what you're getting at. Okay.
そういう集団心理も G レートのせいってことっすか？
可能性としてはありだろう。渋谷に来たら楽しい気分になるってのが若いやつらの頭の中に無意識にすり込まれれば。
若者がこの街に惹かれる理由になるってわけですね。
I see, okay. No, that makes sense. I'm trying to think of a good example to use here, but no, I think they covered it. Sua really is a fast learner, Bond thought to himself, impressed. The junior detective was still young, but that part of him truly was worthy of praise. In addition, what set him apart from other young people was that he did not just follow his seniors blindly. Whenever he had a question, or whenever he thought something did not make sense, he could always voice it, despite the fact that he was a junior in name.
G レートについては一応分かったっすけど、それでどうやって犯人を探すんですか？もし G レートに影響されて今回みたいな事件が起きたってなら、何百年も前から似たようなことが起きてないと変なんだよ。
そいつはこれから調べりゃいいさ。専門家だな。
A specialist?
先輩は調べないんですか？
俺はデカだ。
Bond smirked from ear to ear.
調べるのはニュージェネのことだけだ。そのために今日はわざわざ仕事サボって現場の G レートを測ったんだよ。
You just wanted to measure the GE rate.
もしこれまでの一連の現場の G レートが異常を示したなら何を意味すると思う？
Oh.
まさか。
Oh. Sua's eyes went wide, and he stopped dead in his tracks. It seemed as if he had realized what Bond was trying to imply.
事件は G レートが異常を示している場所で起こるってことっすか？
then theoretically you'd have to start looking for potential areas that also have abnormal GE rates. Then you'd be able to potentially predict where the next crime might be committed.
だとしたら次の事件が起こる場所をある程度予測できるんですね。
That's exactly what I was saying!
まだそう決まったわけじゃない。それをこれから調べるんだ。
There was something lurking within this city. Something yet unknown, hidden deep beneath its flashy exterior. Perhaps it was akin to Pandora's box, something not meant to be touched by the hands of men. Thoughts such as these pervaded Bond's mind as he watched the pedestrians file down the streets of Shibuya. And we all know Pandora's box. A box given to mankind by the gods in Greek mythology. The people were told never to open it. But a woman named Pandora gave in to her curiosity and opened it anyway, unleashing the many calamities held inside the world, or upon the world. It is said that the only thing left remaining in the box was hope. Pandora's box, huh?
理想度のまたその意志による導き
And now we're back here. As soon as I heard those words, I knew I couldn't take it anymore. Fez had been going on and on about all these things I didn't care about, all while continuing to dodge what I'd actually asked her. I couldn't possibly care any less about some greater will, or why Shibuya attracts young people, or whatever else. There was only one thing I wanted to know.
ディソードはどうすれば手に入る
Mustering up my courage, I asked Fez that question.
教えてよ
You are being really selfish right now. I just spent all my time trying to explain to you the way that this world is going, and you just won't shut the fuck up about the goddamn sword, will you?
Without changing her aloof expression, Fez gazed down at the D-sword she was holding. Despite how gigantic the sword was, she seemed to be handling it with incredible ease. Maybe she just had an absurd level of physical strength or something.
教えられることじゃないわ
なんて
Why is it that you'll go on and on about all this random shit, yet you can't tell me the most crucial thing I need to know?
見つけなくちゃいけない自分自身方法なんて私には分からない
You don't know? Then how in the living fuck did you get the D-sword you're holding in your hand right now?
ただ理想度は力を持つ人の上にしか映さない
That should give him some hope. D-swords can only be seen by those who possess the power. So in other words, those without the power couldn't see them. But I could see it extremely clearly. But then, what did she mean by the power? Was she saying that I had supernatural powers? Like what the two Fezes in front of me had?
君には私の剣が見えているでしょそれが意味するの一つだけ
If Shogun and Yua were destroying my life because of it, then I didn't want this stupid bullshit power! But I still did want a D-sword. Because it'd grant me salvation. Fez had said so. Stuff like the greater will and the reason why Shibuya attracted young people made no difference to me. I didn't want some random power, nor did I want to be roped into all this BS in any way, shape, or form, but in order to escape the clutches of Shogun and Yua, I had to get my hands on a sword.
感じて世界の選択した意志
But Fez's answer was as ambiguous as every other damn thing she'd said! Biting my lip, I tried desperately to think of any way I could extract information from her. But as a person who is terrible at talking to 3D people, I couldn't think of anything that'd be effective at all. I I tried to pull from my bank of eroge situations, but everything that came to mind was fairly unsettling. Such as slipping an aphrodisiac, tying her up, or imprisoning her. Jesus fucking Christ. Man, I may or may not be extremely fucked up. Yeah. Okay, screen capping that. Yeah. Nice to finally see you see, now, it is nice for you to have some level of self-awareness.
君、名前は
Fez turned her back to me, then slowly began to walk deeper into the tunnel.
私は岸本綾瀬
When she said that, I realized that we still hadn't introduced ourselves to each other yet.
西条匠
I couldn't see Fez, Ayase's expression from where I was. Why she was laughing, I didn't know.
また会いましょう匠
Ayase was moving farther and farther away. I fearfully turned my head to see what happened to the other Ayase, only to find that she had disappeared without a trace. Had she literally disappeared, or had she just walked out of the underpass? Ayase had said that the other Ayase was a delusion. Maybe that was the power of the D-sword. I returned my gaze to the inside of the underpass, and right as I did, I saw that Ayase was going up the other staircase, which was about 50 meters deeper into the tunnel. Eventually, her figure disappeared completely, and now all that remained was the eerie silence of the underpass. I wasn't brave enough to yell after her. I was too exhausted to run after her, and I was overwhelmed with the feeling that it wasn't worth the trouble. In the end, all I could do was return home as cautiously as I could, making sure not to be spotted by Yua or the police on the way. Sorry, guy. Your house is being watched. It felt like it had been ages since I'd last been at my base, but in reality, it had only been half a day. I left my computer on, leaving my Seraton screensaver to cast a pale light together with her smile across the dark room. I locked the door tightly from the inside and threw myself onto the sofa. When I closed my eyes, I couldn't help but remember everything that had happened today. I couldn't believe even the police thought I was the culprit. They had it all wrong. There was absolutely no way I could have killed all those people. Investigate like you actually give a shit. This isn't a game. Otaku freaks like myself were ostracized by a society. So, they must have thought that they could just pin the crime on one of us and the public wouldn't even bat an eye. They couldn't actually catch the real culprit, so they wanted to save face by using me as a scapegoat. Damn it! What could I do to clear my name? The scene at Act Cafe flashed before my eyes, sending a chill down my spine. There existed someone that was even more terrifying than the police. Yua, my enemy. I had been so unbelievably relieved that I hadn't heard anything from her recently. I had been growing more and more confident that she'd never contact me again. But today I'd realized that I'd been mistaken. In order to oppose all of them, I needed a D-sword. I glanced at the cheap sword that was leaning against my PC desk. It was a fake. Ayase had said that only people with the power can see them. The day I'd bought my sword, Nanami had seen me with it. And unlike Ayase and Senna's swords, it didn't glow. Where could a real one be? I had to get my hands on one as soon as possible. If I didn't, I was doomed. Getting wrapped up in something this insane, it sucked so much.
あなたは DID 多重人格なんです。
No! That's not true! That's impossible!
Assert your feelings, you know it to be true.
Multiple personality disorders are supposed to be rare in Japan. You've been watching way too many goddamn movies, Yua! I didn't have multiple personalities. There's no proof of that at all. Well, about that.
違う。あれは違う。
But that chat log is consistent with what you had told me.
あんなの捏造だ。証拠にはならない。
But there's no proof that I don't have multiple personalities.
先生は僕を多重人格だなんて診断しなかった。
Well, funny thing about that, you are slightly delusional. I'm just saying. It's, right there. Just saying. But that very Dr. Takashina, is now gone for some unknown reason.
僕は僕が一番よく知ってる。
But I don't actually know myself. I felt chills in the nape of my neck. The usual presence. Someone was watching me. The unknown gaze. Whose eyes are those eyes?
そうだ。将軍だ。あいつが犯人だ。チャットログにもそう書いてあったじゃないか。ユアは将軍の手下だし、ニュージェネ事件だって全部将軍が。
But the Shogun truly exist? Are you sure he isn't just a delusion?
僕はまともだ。まともなんだ。そうでしょう。
No. I clutched my head and shouted out to no one in particular, but what I got in reply was...
メールだよボケナス
Sarah? I sluggishly made my way over to the computer and checked my email. The sender was Grim. Found something interesting with the subject line. It was probably just bait, and the contents of the email were meant to fuck with me. I didn't have the energy to deal with him personally right now, so I stuck to just reading the email. Nightheart-kun, why haven't you joined the chat room at all lately? You haven't been on ESO either, so I had no choice but to email you. I would have told you to watch this vid because it is seriously fucked. I know what you're thinking. It's probably just Grim fucking with me, but no. It was recorded by the new Gen perp. The net's going absolutely insane over it. Hurry up and watch it before you miss the hype. Shaking my head. Video? That had been recorded by the new Gen culprit? My fingertips on the mouse began to tremble. I couldn't take my eyes off the email. Did that mean the killer was in the video? Who was it? No. Was it me? I both wanted to see it and didn't want to at the same time. This is the proof. Proof that I wasn't the killer. Or proof that I was the killer. Which one would it be? I didn't know. It was a gamble. Feeling my heart begin to beat faster and faster, I moved the mouse cursor and hovered over the link. But I couldn't work up the courage to click the URL.
私あなたを助けたい
Shut up! Don't treat me like a criminal! Don't act like you feel sorry for me! I didn't do it! You're the one on the criminal side, Yua! In an intense fit of rage, I clicked on the URL. Huh? It was a YouTube video. The word loading appeared on the video window.
僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない。
Okay, give props to that. That was actually a pretty good voice. Good God. You can feel the desperation in that performance. That was really good. Also, oh, fuck. I just saw the top video. Dive. I felt the slight urge to dive off a tall place. You guys should join me next time. 30-second video length. Uploader Booby. Really? Sucker got 9,426 views. New gen, new generation, new gen incident. Whose eyes are those eyes? Group dive video recording. I joined a group going scuba diving off of Green Rock and Kowtow. It was freaking awesome. You all gotta try it. Madness in Shibuya group dive. 5 high schoolers commit suicide by jumping off a skyscraper in Shibuya. Oh god. In reality, it only took about 10 seconds for the video to load, but those 10 seconds felt like an eternity to me. Eventually, it finished loading and the video started to play. It was a video of a very dark place. The background was pitch black. Maybe it was indoors. That's outdoors, you idiot. I leaned my head in close to the monitor, trying my best to parse the information on the screen. It was dark and therefore hard to see, but there were several men and women there. They were all making a ton of noise. Maybe it was because the bitrate was too low, or maybe because the people in the video were too distraught, but I couldn't make out a single thing they were saying. Every once in a while, whenever someone screamed violently, the sound would clip horribly. After watching for a bit longer, I was able to determine that there were 5 people in the video. If you include the cameraman, it would be 6. The cameraman didn't enter the frame at all. Because of how dark it was, the faces of the 5 people were just barely visible. As though to comfort one another, they were caressing each other's heads, patting each other's shoulders, and hugging. I could also hear the high-pitched sobbing of a girl, likely overcome with emotion. It was definitely bizarre, but how did this video have any connection to New Gen? You know people dived off a... Never mind. Never mind. Was the person filming this really the New Gen culprit? At the very least, I knew I had no memory of recording something like this. And then, after a short while, the camera, or rather the person holding the camera, began to slowly move forward. The 5 subjects who were about 5 meters away from the cameraman gradually grew larger and larger. The picture was fairly grainy. Maybe the original image data was re-encoded at an extremely low bitrate in order to reduce its size. A modern video camera should have a night vision function, so I wondered why the cameraman hadn't made use of it. Could it have been an older camera? As soon as I thought that, the camera suddenly panned to the left and then to the right, showing the surrounding scenery. What I initially thought was just the pitch black darkness of a room was actually the night sky. In other words, the video had been recorded outdoors. As for the reason why there wasn't a single building or anything, it was because the video had been taken on the roof of a skyscraper. The 5 people were on the edge of the roof of a very tall building. Right behind them was the ledge. And right below that ledge was the glittering nightscape of Shibuya that could only be seen at high altitudes. I see 3 guys and 2 girls. 2 blonde girls, a blonde guy, a dude with black hair, and a dude with brown hair, I think. Finally, I understood. I finally understood what this video was. I finally understood why it was said to have been recorded by the New Gen culprit. The group dive. A locked room mystery in which a group of 5 men and women jumped from the roof of Cornelius Tower. The sole fact that remained unclear about New Gen was whether or not this specific incident was a murder case or a group suicide. If this video was of the 5 people who jumped to their deaths, then that would mean that there had been a 6th person at the scene when the incident occurred. The 5 people shown in the video hadn't just been making noise for the sake of it. They were all slumped down on the ground, crying and shouting as they huddled together. They all refused to give up, despite the fact they were fated to die soon. One was shaking their head in denial as they cried. One was clutching their hair tightly as they fell to their knees, their shoulders heaving with each sob. One was pleading with the cameraman as they sobbed, asking why they were doing this. One had already gotten mad and was laughing as tears streamed down his face. It was a rabid, violent desire to stay alive. A fervent... I did not read that, sorry. A fervent, intense plea to not die. Disconsolate indignation that screamed, "Why is this happening to us?" Innumerable raw emotions swirled around the group. Yet in a bizarre juxtaposition, the cameraman's voice was never once heard. The cameraman was eerily calm.
Yamero. Yamero!
No matter how much I pleaded with the footage that had been taken nearly a month ago, nothing was going to change. I knew full well that it was meaningless, but I subconsciously screamed at my monitor all the same.
こいつらみんな死にたくなんかないんだぞ
With no possible way for my words to reach them, the cameraman was moved even closer to the 5 people. Terrified, the 5 of them all tried to crawl away to get away from the camera, but they couldn't. Right behind them was the very ledge of the helipad. There was no guardrail of any kind. The 5 of them had nowhere to go. If they moved back even a little bit farther, they would fall. Refusing to heed the 5's pleas for their lives, the cameraman continued to focus solely on filming, as if to agitate the 5 all the more. He had driven them completely to the edge, to the point where they took no further action at all. Then, without any sort of cue, nor any form of signaling one another, the 5 people, who had all been crying out in grief, suddenly fell silent. Then, they all stood up. The wind on the rooftop of the Cornelius Tower was powerful. Beckoned by the wind, the 5 of them nearly staggered. If there was even the slightest misstep, they would fall. As if in preparation for such a thing, the 5 men and women all joined hands, seemingly in resignation. They grasped each other's hands tightly.
よせやめろ謝るな
Silence. It seemed to me that even the sound of the wind whipping violently through the air had stopped. All I could hear was the sound of cars driving along Shuto Expressway at the foot of the building. Even then, the cameraman did not make a single move. And then, a single person among the 5 whispered.
その目誰の目?
Whose eyes are those eyes? I froze in front of the monitor, feeling as though my heart was being strangled by an ice cold hand.
なんでまたその言葉なんだよ
Wasn't that supposed to be the first new gen case? Whose eyes are those eyes? And had been the dying message from the vampire case, and that one came forth. This didn't make any goddamn sense. Paying no mind to the screaming inside my head, the video continued to play. Hand in hand, the 5 men and women slowly stepped out into the empty air, almost as if there was a path laid out before them. And then, just like that, the 5 fell into the nightscape of the big city. I bit my lip and covered my eyes.